Hello and welcome to BYJU'S IAS. Let's get started and look into the first article. The first article says coming to terms with biometrics in policing. This article here speaks about policing and use of technology in the crime investigation. When we speak about policing, it has two important tasks. One is about prevention, the other is about detection. What is prevention? Prevention is what happens before a crime is committed, which is the precautions that the police will have to take to prevent the crime from being committed. Then what we have is the detection. It is what happens after the crime is committed, which means the case is studied, research takes place, who's committed this crime will be looked into, inquiries will be done, and the accused is put before the court of law to prove his culpability. So basically, when you are speaking about policing, you have two important tasks. One is prevention, the other is detection. There are people called as criminologists who examine all aspects of the crime and find ways to prevent this particular crime behavior to occur in the near future. According to these criminologists, it is very difficult to prevent a crime rather than detect a crime. What is the analogy that they have used? Basically, what they believe is that preventing a crime is tougher for a police officer. Why? Because they would not have any information about it. They would not know where the crime would occur, when it will occur. So preventing a crime is tougher traditionally according to criminologists, but they believe that solving a crime is relatively easy. But there is another point of view as well. When you look at the modern aspects of policing, there are police officers who have huge numbers. Let's say for example in countries like United States of America or in countries like United Kingdom, the police strength is too huge in number. They also have enough technologies to identify who is the accused and who has committed the crime. But in spite of this humongous strength in the police services and also the technology that they are using, the conviction rate is only about 30 to 40% in these highly advanced countries. Now let's come to India. In India, there have been huge number and piling of cases that we see. And what do we actually identify? That the police are underperforming. They are not able to identify who's committed a particular crime. But if there is a highly sensitive case, there is a sensational case involving a politician or a celebrity or a high profile person, it is only in such cases the police is able to get the accused in the picture. If it is not, there is underperformance by the Indian police service as well. So what we need to understand is that it is not only the prevention which is getting tougher, and it is also the detection which is also getting tougher. So the traditional idea of prevention being tougher and detection being easier can be completely taken off with this argument. So in order to overcome and in order to provide justice to the people, what the police have come up with is they have come up with technological tools. The technological tools can be in the form of narco analysis, or it can be in the form of facial recognition as well. But whenever the police have come up with such technologies, what you immediately see is voicing of opinion against this particular technology. So it is the people who want justice to be delivered by the police, but when the police take up such measures like the facial recognition system or for example the narco analysis, the people are the ones who immediately go against the police from enforcing this technology. Kindly note, we are not looking at the constitutional angle, we are not looking at the Supreme Court judgments, we are only looking at the scientific rationale of using such a technology. So the people here would obviously obstruct such an implementation of technology because they believe it is going to breach their privacy. One such technology which the article discusses here is about automated facial recognition technology. So what is this automated facial recognition technology? Let's say for example there is an accused. So this accused image is present in the database of the police officer. So what you have is the accused and they have an image of this person in the police database. Now they have captured through a CCTV one of the pictures in real time of this accused. So what happens? The real time image is compared with this image that is present in the database. Under this, a geometric pattern of the face to recognize the accused takes place. So the key features of the accused, like the nose size, the eye shape, the chin prominence, and the distance between the two eyes, so on and so forth, is calculated using certain algorithms. So a virtual map of the face is created, and what you have is mapping and understanding whether it is the accused or not. So the minute they're able to map this virtual map which is present in their database with the actual real image that has been captured by the CCTV, they would be able to come to a conclusion that it is this person who's committed this crime. So how is it used in policing? So this technology improves the power of surveillance. They would have a vigilant eyes on those people who have committed the heinous act of crime which is against the social order, so they would be able to track that individual person. So the key idea being they have the power of surveillance under this policing system. So what are the advantages? So facial recognition technology has the potential. It has the potential to enforce law at the pinnacle of justice. So this will help in catching the criminals and also improvise the public safety. Then there are individuals who are underground. They do not come in public and conduct illegal activities, but they stay in hiding and they also conduct activities which are illegal in nature. Such individuals can also be brought under the law books and they henceforth come under the police radar. So all those individuals who have been completely underground running their activities illegally and have not been caught for couple of years can also come under the police radar with the use of this technology. This is how this automated facial recognition technology help in identifying who the accused is and also bring justice to the victims of crime. However, there are some issues surrounding to its usage. Rights activists focus on privacy violation. They believe that when police are using this particular technology, it will breach their privacy. But what the citizens forget is they have no reservation in handing over their data to the private companies. When it comes to Facebook, if it requests our data, we give it. There have been n number of examples like the Cambridge Analytica, which was able to mine the personal information and deliver the same to control the democracy in some other country. We have no issues, we have no problems when the private agency is asking for the data. The only issue that strikes is when the police is asking for a good cause. Another argument against the breach of privacy is as you walk through a particular lane, there are CCTVs that are installed in private properties as well as public properties. Is this going to be a threat to our individuality or your privacy? No, we do not care about it. But only when the police start using it, we speak about privacy is an argument put forward by the author. The next issue this article speaks about is with respect to errors. Face recognition technology can be prone to error which can implicate people for the crimes that they have not committed. How? We did recognize the geometry of the face, that is nose size, eye shape, chin prominence and a virtual mapping of the face takes place. But if there is an error in understanding how this works and the algorithm fails, there can be culpability of an innocent person which cannot be completely rejected. So there could be a possibility of error. But then the error rate can also be controlled by training data and giving more information. So there could be errors which cannot be brushed aside. Yes, no person has said that errors will not occur in a particular software. There would be loopholes in every software and the hardware that we encounter. But what the author calls for, if we are able to come up with well advanced algorithms, the errors can comparatively be reduced. This facial recognition software is particularly bad at recognizing African Americans and other ethnic minorities, which can also include young people as well. So basically, this particular software has been misidentifying or failing to identify them in spite of repeated interventions as well. And there is also an argument given by the author under this pretext. He says that this particular idea that it is not able to identify African Americans or other ethnic minorities can also be set aside. How? we need to come up with advanced algorithms. If we are able to come up with advanced algorithms, such errors can also be reduced. The facial recognition technology will still not be able to identify the accused in case there are challenging conditions. What are these challenging conditions? It includes poor lighting or low quality image resolution. If whatever image that is stored in their database is not in proper synchronization. So all these issues, if that is prevalent, then again the facial recognition technology will not be successful. Another prominent problem is that this facial recognition technology will not be able to identify or take into account different factors. You know for the fact that DNA and fingerprint will remain the same for the entire lifetime of that person, but face can go through certain changes as well. One such change is through the plastic surgery. In case the person goes through a plastic surgery, then this automatic facial recognition technology is not useful. Then there is aging issue as well. Let's take for example, if the person's image is taken 10 years before, is it going to be useful right now? No. Then there are cosmetics which they apply to the face. Will it be able to identify? Again, it is prone to errors as well. Then there is pose of a particular person. There is a particular way that that particular person's face can be captured. In all these likelihood, this identification of a person may not be error free. So that is where this particular technology will have to advance itself, and when there are error free scenarios is when this facial technology can be implemented. So what is the way forward? When you're capturing the image of a person, storing it in the database, this can be misused by the police personnel. So what you require is the intervention of the government. The government should come up with a legislation and it should prevent the misuse of this database. So if there is no match of a face with the existing records, then this image has to be deleted immediately. Even if there are matches, let's say if there is a particular photo in the database and if there is a matching with the real-time scenario, and if after the investigation is done, this particular image has to be deleted from the database. So two provisions: if there is no match of the face, then it has to be deleted. Even after investigation, the retention should not be happening, and for this the government and the legislative backing is required. So what is the ultimate analysis that we can draw? Any modern technology is fraught with errors. For that reason, you cannot completely neglect that technology. There would be errors, there would be problems, and all that we have to do is to ensure that these errors, these issues are rectified, and this is implemented in the future so the criminal justice system is prevalent and the victims are delivered the justice. It is this that we have to understand with respect to this article. Now let's look into the next article. This article says a case for more police women. Since the year 2009, the central government and the state government have been trying to improve women representation in the police forces, but the department continues to be male dominated. Let's look at statistics. In 2019, women comprised less than 10% of the police personnel. Only 7 states, that is Tamil Nadu, Bihar, Maharashtra, Himachal Pradesh, Uttarakhand, Gujarat and Sikkim had more than 10% police women. In fact, there has been only a 5% increase in the number of police women in a decade. It was 3.65 in 2009 and 8.98% in 2019. Such is the abysmal representation, poor statistics when it comes to women in the policing. So what has the government done? The government has been trying to enforce reservation as the key component for bringing women into policing. Reservation has been the primary tool to increase the women's representation. But the government has not developed any action plan. What is the action plan that we are speaking about? Let's say the government has a reservation of about 33%. Let's say in a year they want to recruit about 1,000 people for the constabulary. So 33% reservations stands at about 330. So 330 is the recruitment that they have to ensure for the women. So instead of recruiting these women, let's say within 1 year or 2 year, there is no deadline that is given. So the action plan with respect to the recruitment has failed. Then when it comes to implementation, states have their own policy. States have adopted reservation policy which are very different in number. When you look at levels of recruitment, you have constable at the lower level, then you have the SI at the higher hierarchy, followed by the DYSP, which stands for Deputy Superintendent of Police. So when it comes to recruitment, there are three levels of recruitment. But when it comes to implementation, states have opted for their own roles. When it comes to the states like Kerala and Karnataka, reservation is provided only at the prominent constabulary level. So it is providing reservation only at the constable level, not at the SI or the DYSP level. Then for example, there are states like Andhra Pradesh, Gujarat, Jharkhand and Tamil Nadu. They provide reservation both at the constable level as well as the SI level. Even here, when they are recruiting at the SI level, this is prominently based on the cadre. So it can be with respect to a particular geography, or it can be with respect to a particular department as well. Therefore, because the implementation is not in sync with the words as put out by the legislature, there are certain concerns as voiced under this article. What are the concerns that have been put forward by the author? This has resulted in huge disparity in the representation of women across all ranks. So what we realize is that most of the women are provided reservation only in the constabulary. So what we will see is increase in the junior rank officers, the number of constables, but when it comes to leadership roles like the SI, the DYSP, they are not provided any reservation. So what we will have is the leadership dearth when it comes to women empowerment. So ultimately, in case as a consequence of this, there are not enough women personnel to perform exclusive functions such as gender-based crimes that are being reported in the society. A woman who's gone through a sexual assault will be comfortable with the same gender. She would be able to speak up and address her grievance to a women officer. But if there are no women officers, whom will she address her concern is the major problems as pointed out under this article. There are other institutional barriers as well. All that we have spoken right now is with respect to reservation and entry of women into the police services. Now let's say they have entered into the police services. There are again institutional barriers within the police department. So what are these institutional barriers? Women have the responsibility of taking care of the children as well as their family. So what it means is that they will have to be posted in their home districts. But the issue with the institution is that they are frequently transferred inter-district. Because they are transferred from one district to another, they would not be able to take care of their children. At the same time, they would not be able to take care of their families. It is also another issue why women representation in the police services is abysmal. The protectors of public are the police officers. If the same police officer go through a sexual harassment, whom will they have to go? So there are issues of sexual harassment of women within the police department. So this has to be acknowledged, and suitable measures will also have to be taken for increasing the number of police women in the police department. Another major deterrent for women entering the police service is the inflexible working hours. As we initially discussed, they have to take care of the children, they have to take care of the family, but the working hours for the police women is very inflexible, which means they may have to toil hard for 11 hours, 12 hours without having any week offs or the festival holidays as well. This will also have to be addressed. Then this police service is seen as an association with masculinity. It is use of coercive force, and this has also led to less participation of the women. There is also a belief that combat or policing is usually a male occupation, and that police officer has to be a male domain, and that it is unsuitable for female physique and temperament. That is why you also call the police as policemen and not as policewomen, is what the author calls for. Why are women police officers important when it comes to policing? The presence of women police officer correlates positively with reporting of sexual assault. What do we mean by it? Let's say, for example, there is a woman who's gone through a heinous act of rape or a molestation. If she happens to enter the doors of the police station, if she witnesses a male police officer, she would be uncomfortable speaking about this sexual assault. But if there is a women police officer, she would be able to say the grievance she has gone through. And the women police officer would also understand the plight of this person, because she, being a woman, would understand what are the difficulties of another woman. Added to this, studies have also proved that if there is a group which is headed by a women police officer, there is reduction in the use of force by other police officers as well. Thus, the violation of human rights does not picture when there is women officer who is heading that particular group. So what is the way forward? When you look at the present scenario, if there is a male officer and a female officer, this female officer will have to perform all the in-house duties, that is filing of the FIR or typing certain things or working with the computer, so such which will not require exposing oneself to the outside scenarios is being performed by the female officer. But when it comes to the outside environment, that which is related to conducting investigations, patrolling or providing VIP security, most of the times it is the male counterpart who takes care. Such disparity should be completely removed, and a female officer should also be given contributions to hardcore policing that is currently comparatively less. So this has to be taken forward. As we initially discussed, a woman has the responsibility of her child as well as families. So departments will have to be mindful about this social reality and exercise some sensitivity in making decisions about the transfer and posting of the women personnel. So what is required is home district posting if there is a possibility. The government should also set up childcare centers, prevent sexual harassment at workplace, and also build separate restrooms for the women. Currently, when you look at recruitment, it happens on a state basis. So there is a call or a notification that is made, and irrespective of whether they are coming from a particular region or not, people from throughout the state are recruited. What this article suggests is for district-wise recruitment, and this district-wide recruitment should ensure geographical diversity, representation of women groups based on the caste, class, religion, ethnicity, and various other factors as well. There might be a woman who is not presently there from a particular region. So district-wise recruitment drives should also be conducted. At the same time, there should be gender sensitization training that should also be given to the male, is what is the crux of this article. So any increase of women in the policing in the near future will not only require reservation, but it will also require these institutional barriers that has to be reduced over a period of time. It is this that we have to understand with respect to this article. Now let's look into the next article. This article says Nourishment increases Vizag beachfront. What are we discussing here? We will be speaking about coastal erosion. Coastal erosion can happen in two ways. One, it can happen naturally, or it can happen by a human interference. First, let us understand what is an erosion. Erosion is nothing but loss of land or displacement of land along the coastline. So when there is land or its displacement that takes place, such is what is called as erosion. So erosion can happen naturally or with human interference. Naturally, how does it occur? By the action of the waves, or with currents or tides or wind driven water or waterborne ice, or then periodically what we also see is storms that are striking that particular shoreline. All this leads to natural forces causing coastal erosion. How does coastal erosion take place with human interference? Let's say along the coastline there is presence of a forest, or there is presence of large swathes of trees as well. If man happens to distract the forest or the trees in this particular locality, this can also lead to coastal erosion as well. In order to prevent this coastal erosion, there are two important controlling mechanisms. So what are these controlling mechanisms? One is called as hard erosion control, the other is called as as the soft erosion control. What is this hard erosion control? These are methods which provide a permanent solution. This would be prevalent for at least 20 to 30 years. So what is this soft erosion control? Soft erosion control basically provides a temporary solution. And the example for permanent solution is seawall. What is the example for temporary solution? And the example for temporary solution is what is called as beach nourishment as given under this article. What is this beach nourishment? This basically includes pumping in or adding layers of sand along the coastal line. By adding this, we would be able to temporarily provide solution to the erosion. This will also provide recreational activities for all those people who are coming to enjoy the beauty of the beach as well. This will also provide and protect the beachfront buildings as well. This is a soft erosion control which provides a temporary solution that can be taken up by the people to provide recreational facilities. It is this that we have to understand with respect to this article. Now let's look into the next article. This article says no meetings of SCST panels held in 25 states in 3 years. Before we understand what this article is, let's look at Schedule Castes and Schedule Tribes Prevention of Atrocities Act of 1989. Under this article, atrocities should not be conducted on the SCST community or individuals belonging to the SCST community by a person outside the SCST community. So this atrocity is punishable under Section 3 of Prevention of Atrocities Act of 1989. What is this atrocity? Let's take some of the examples. One from the SCST community should not be insulted. You cannot create a scenario which would cause annoyance to the individual belonging to that particular community. Added to this, you cannot make him or drink that which is inedible. Forcing a person from the SCST community to run naked or committing a similar act which is derogatory to the human dignity will all come under this SCST Act. In case there is a victim who has suffered these type of atrocities, then what this act provides is speedy dispensation of justice, and in case relief can also be provided, the relief and speedy dispensation should be provided to these individuals. There is Section 21 under this SCST Act. What does this Section 21 speak about? It speaks about duty of the government to ensure effective implementation of this act. The structure has been given by the central government, but the implementation has to be by the state government. Giving muzzle to this act is the Schedule Castes and Schedule Tribes Prevention of Atrocities Rules of 1995. According to this rule, there should be a state level committee, there should be a district level committee and a divisional level committee. Who will head the state level committee? It is the Chief Minister. So it is the Chief Minister who will be heading a state level committee according to the rules as prescribed under the 1995 rules. So what should they do? They should meet at least twice a year. So they should meet at least twice a year. They should understand that this particular act was designed to prevent the atrocities against the SCST community. And there is also another vigilance and monitoring committee which will also suggest effective measures to implement the provisions of this act. So ideally, these rules will ensure that there is effective implementation of the act, and in case there are issues, there are grievances that are not addressed, this monitoring committee will suggest the same and this will be enforced by the state level committee. So what is the present context? According to the information provided by the Union Social Justice and Empowerment Ministry to the Parliament, the state level committees of nearly 25 state and union territories who are supposed to monitor the implementation of this act had not met even once in the last 3 years. Ideally, they were supposed to implement and meet twice a year to implement these laws, but they failed to meet is what this article all about. Now let's look into the next article. This article here speaks about Poseidon P-8I aircraft. Let's understand some of the facts with respect to this aircraft. It is a long-range maritime patrol aircraft. The P-8I aircraft is a variant of P-8I Poseidon aircraft that Boeing developed as a replacement for US Navy's aging P-3 fleet. Indian Navy happened to be the first international for this P-8 aircraft. India and United States of America entered into a contract. India did enter into a contract which will be paying about $2.1 billion for a total of 8 aircrafts. So the first P-8 aircraft was delivered to India in the year 2012. This P-8I aircraft is based at INS Rajali, which happens to be present in Tamil Nadu. What are the features of this aircraft? When you look at the features of this aircraft, it has a satellite communication terminal. It also has a designed data link 2 system. It also have a synthetic aperture radar for tracking ships, submarines, small coastal vessels as well. It also has a multi-mode radar that is mounted on it. It also has a harpoon anti-ship missile, and what we also have is the electronic warfare self-protective system. So basically it will have all these missiles, rockets and depth chargers as well. What are these depth chargers? When you look at depth charge, it is also called by a name called as depth bomb. This is nothing but a weapon that is used by surface ships or by the aircraft to detect underground submarine. So this is nothing but one of those aircrafts which will act as a anti-submarine warfare, anti-surface warfare, and it will also help in reconnaissance in support of broad area maritime and littoral operations. And once it is delivered to India, it will also have the communication and sensor suits which will be designed by the Indian Defence Public Sector units as well. So what is the significance of this aircraft? When you look at this particular region of Indian Ocean, it is getting militarized. There are countries which have their naval bases set up close to India as well. One such issue is the Hambantota port when it comes to Sri Lanka. So what this aircraft would be able to do, it will act as an intelligent hawkeye over the Indian Ocean that is increasingly getting militarized. So this will act as a vigilant eyes in the Indian Ocean region. This system also has the provision of mid-air refueling capability. So what we will have is the extended mission of this particular aircraft. It is this that we have to understand with respect to this article. Now let's look into the next article. These 4 articles about nominating ex-Chief Justice of India Ranjan Gogoi to Rajya Sabha has been discussed on yesterday's CNA under the first topic, so kindly look into it. Now let's look into some of the preliminary practice questions. Consider the following statements about Chaitra Jatra festival. This festival is celebrated at Tara Tarini Hill Shrine on Tuesdays of the Hindu month of Chaitra. The Tara Tarini Hill Shrine, located at Kumari Hill on the banks of Rushikula River, is a major center of Shakti worship in Odisha. The Rushikula originates from Daringbadi Hills of the Eastern Ghats. Which of the above statements are correct? The answer to this is 1, 2 and 3. All the 3 statements given in this practice question is correct. Why have we picked this up? Because of the reference given under this article. So this festival is celebrated in Odisha at the Tara Tarini Hill Shrine on Tuesdays of the Hindu month of Chaitra. Now let's look into the next practice question. Which of the following statements about National Institute of Oceanography is correct? It is one of the 37 constituent laboratories of Council of Scientific and Industrial Research. It has its headquarters at Mumbai. Which of the statements are correct? Because it is asking for the correct statement, the answer is 1 only. Why? Its headquarters is not in Mumbai, but its headquarters is in Donapola, and that happens to be in Goa. Why have we picked this up? Because of the reference given under this article. Kindly note, it has its functions as well. It serves as an advanced center for education in ocean services. The principal focus of research has been observing and understanding special oceanographic characteristics of the Indian Ocean. The major research areas include 4 traditional branches of oceanography, that is biological, chemical, geological or geophysical and physical, as well as ocean engineering, marine instrumentation and marine archaeology. In addition to basic research, the institute also carries out applied research sponsored by the industry. So what is this applied research? This basically includes oceanographic data collection or understanding the environmental impact assessment or modeling to predict environmental impact. So let's look into the next practice question. Consider the following statements about basic reproduction number. number. A BRN greater than 1 indicates that the number of new species decreases over time. A BRN less than 1 indicates that outbreak is self-sustaining. Which of the above statements are incorrect? So because it is asking for the incorrect, both these statements are wrong, and that is why the answer to this is C. So because it is asking for the incorrect statement, it is C, both. So what is this basic reproduction number? This is nothing but a mathematical model to study about the epidemics or infection that is prevalent in a particular region. So the goal is to determine whether this infection can invade, whether it will increase with respect to time or it will decrease with respect to a time. So it is a parameter that predicts whether an infection will spread or not. There are two parameters here. One is a BRN, which is less than 1, and when it is less than 1, it indicates that infection is reducing, and when it is BRN greater than 1, it indicates the outbreak is self-sustaining, which means it is increasing. So anything which is greater than 1, it will impact the population within that region, and if it is less than 1, there is depreciation or decrease in the number of people impacted by this disease. Now let's look into the next practice question. Arrange the following capitals from west to east: Paris, Warsaw, Berlin, Madrid and Rome. The answer to this is 41532. Now let's look into the map for the same. So when you look into the map, what you have is Madrid, followed by Paris, then you have Rome, then you have Berlin, and then what you have is Warsaw. Why have we taken this article? That is because of increase in the COVID instances in the European countries. Now let's look into the next practice question. Out of the following statements, choose the one that brings out the principle underlying cabinet form of government. The answer to this is a mechanism of parliamentary democracy for ensuring collective responsibility of the government to the people. Now let's look into the mains practice question. Facial recognition technology so strike a balance between privacy and security in the new age policing. Discuss. Reservation to increase gender diversity in policing without considering principles of inclusion and equality is a futile attempt to correct the imbalance. Suggest measures to ensure a level playing field for the women. So please write all your answers on the comment section and also have a peer review amongst yourself. So this is it for today. Thank you for watching. All the best.